Hi, it's Amy Jensen, Geriatric Care Manager and owner of Genson Geriatrics Management. Happy June. As I mentioned to you last month, our interview with Senior Deputy Holmes of the Camarillo Sheriff's Department and our topic of scams was such an informative and impactful interview that we divided it into two separate interviews. If you happen to miss the first stage of the interview, log on to YouTube at Genson Geriatrics and you can get caught up. And here is part two of our interview with Senior Deputy Holmes on scams.
Oh, this is all so hard to hear, but such an important message to get out there. I also shared in my intro that there's been an increase in scams or fraudulent behavior since the start of the pandemic. Have you seen this to be true?
Yes, absolutely. We still see COVID-19 vaccination scams. We still see that. We see COVID-19 vaccination registry scams. So what that is they'll ask you to it can be door to door, it can be by phone. Someone will door to door, for example, will come, they'll knock on your door and say, "Oh, have you been vaccinated for COVID-19?" The victim will say, "Yes, I've been vaccinated." They said, "Okay, well, I just need to document your personal information. We're going around the neighborhood just documenting who's been vaccinated." So with that personal information, you have to understand you're just opening a pathway where they can use that information to possibly recover old passwords, possibly confirm that information with previous data breaches from companies that might have lost your information due to spyware or different programs that scammers will use to access companies' information. It's things like that. So we've seen that with the COVID-19 vaccinations and COVID-19 registry type of things. And also with the Russia-Ukrainian war relief. So it's been prevalent for sure during the pandemic. I found during the pandemic myself, I believe it's desperate times, right? So everybody knows everybody's at home, everybody's online more. And so that's why we've seen an increase, an uptick in online scams and cybercrime. So everybody's using their computers more, everybody's starting to access different ways to reach out and connect with people, maybe online through social media, which opened up, it basically brought just more flame to the fire for crooks. It increased the amount of victims they have access to.
Ugh, like I said, this is a lot to take in. But education is power. So I appreciate you enlightening us on some of the current scams that are out there. But most importantly, it's important to ask what scam prevention tips can you offer?
Yes, scam prevention, I would actually say, because we're seeing a lot of phishing emails that are asking you for your information or asking you to possibly pay something, you're getting voice messages asking you to give financial information or make a payment. We find that our scammers like to and still prefer, like the Federal Trade Commission has found out and discovered, that they still prefer you to go to the store, get a gift card, and actually take a picture of that gift card or send the information from that gift card to the scammer. Um, we don't want you to purchase gift cards for somebody you don't know. So if you're ever purchasing gift cards or you're ever sending bulk cash or you ever receive a third-party check, and a third-party check would be a check you receive and they say, "Hey, it's an actual check. It's for $2,500. You cash it. I'll get 500. You keep the 2,000 just for cashing the check." Don't ever do anything like that. These third-party checks, bulk cash, and gift cards are a huge sign. Your bank, a creditor, the government will never ask you to make a payment in that fashion. So please stay away from things like that. I would also say don't ever access your online bank through an email attachment or a third-party site. If you want to access your online bank, and never with someone on the phone, because you don't know if they downloaded some spyware onto your computer and they're watching what you're doing while you're doing it, or they're watching you sign into your online banking on your phone if the virus is on your phone. So I always say never sign into your online banking through any other app besides either your banking app on your personal phone or your online banking statement, your online banking portal on your personal computer. And when in doubt, always call to verify. Call to verify. If you receive something from Amazon saying, they need to request financial information or they need you to pay a payment or you're going to get a fee, or you get something claiming we get the Department of Homeland Security all the time That's another one. They'll use their logos and say you're going to get these fees and these different sanctions. Call. You can always call to verify. I recommend look up the number, the general number, call and verify. Usually when you call one of these entities, they'll tell you, hey, that's a scam. Thanks for notifying us. And they'll confirm that everything is actually all right and you don't have to do anything and you just avoided a scam.
Okay. And so if you get such an email or a phone call and you do the legwork and you call and you find out it's a bogus email, do you just delete the email? Do you report the email to somebody?
I would prefer report it. So the big thing is report it, because what we're finding is in the senior community, most of the cybercrime and scams aren't really reported. A large portion of them aren't reported. It's the younger age groups are more likely to report it. And they also don't experience the loss that those in 60 and over group will experience. So definitely report it. We have different ways to report it. You can report it to the Federal Trade Commission. You can report it to the FBI. You can report it to your credit bureau and they'll forward the report on. But here in Camarillo and at the Ventura County Sheriff's Office, we have a scam hotline. And there's a scam hotline for every city that the Sheriff's Department covers, every contract city the Sheriff Department covers. And I know Oxnard PD has one for your Oxnard listeners. We ask that you report it. The sooner you report it, the sooner we know. One, we can start an investigation that can possibly lead to somewhere if it's something local or something stateside. If it's not, we can warn people and put out information. We put out information on Facebook, Instagram, on Twitter, on Nextdoor app. We put out information on many different social profiles, through different service providers like yourself, Amy, and to educate people and to let people know, hey, this is the new scam out there. Don't fall for it, because, we all don't want to see more victims.
Absolutely. And that bodes the question, if an older adult or his or her family member feels that they themselves have been a victim of a scam, what are they to do?
So as you said in your intro, I'm gonna steal your line from this point forward, share. Share is a great point. Definitely share. Usually we find especially if it's an older person and their adult daughter or son is just not aware of what's going on. And once we call to kind of make them aware, as law enforcement, we get there and take the initial crime report, they're usually shocked. And the first thing they ask mom or dad is, why didn't you tell me? Or grandfather, grandpa, why didn't you tell me? So share, definitely share. Don't be ashamed. And then when you share that information, you have to understand you're increasing your network, and those people are going to ask other people in their network, and we usually find things are safer in that way. I also think that you can use help, so what happens is sometimes we need to change our passwords. Sometimes we forget. I like to tell people that have been a victim of scams before, hey, you have to change your passwords regularly. And I like you to take a live person that you confide in, and maybe they have access or know how or where you keep your backup passwords. Because a lot of times people are like, hey, I can't remember all these different passwords. I can't log them. I can't check them. I lose track and I get locked out of my things. Well, use somebody else around you. Use your community. We say the saying, it takes a village. It really does sometimes. And we all get in certain points of life where we need help. So don't be afraid to ask for help.
Excellent. Excellent. And one final question, and in some aspects, this is a difficult question, and I mean no disrespect to any victims, but I think it's important because it ties into everything that we've been saying. If we know from a young age not to share any personal information with strangers, why are people still getting scammed?
So that's the $1 million question, right? So that's the key. So why that is a phrase I say all the time: criminal sophistication. And so people hear it and it just kind of brushes over. When I speak to a room full of 60 people and I'm explaining them, and I go, the criminal sophistication and the savvy of criminals, and everybody's just kind of looking at me, and it's like, I don't think people realize how much these people have honed the skill of coaxing people out of their information. And they've honed it so much because when we think the things we're doing and educating people now, and people will be smarter for that, well, crooks have to get smarter as well, and evil tends to move very fast sometimes. So you have to understand that the criminal sophistication has changed. People are getting better at eliciting that. And they use, with that criminal sophistication, they use tactics. So you have to find tactics of like fear. Fear, if I'm scared in this room right now, Amy, and I'm scared to do something, I might not make the wise decision. If I'm scared, I need to leave this room in a hurry. Where I can clearly jump out of a window right here, I might try and go through the door that I go through 100 times a day. But fear tells me, well, I know that access, even though it's easier for me and safer for me to jump out of the window here right behind my desk. It's fear makes us not use the best cognitive part of our brain to make the wisest decision. Sometimes we act irrational. So you have to understand, if I can, as a criminal, if I can call you and I can get you to fear, it might not be fear of harm. It might be fear of embarrassment. It might be fear of shame. It might be fear of the unknowing. It might be fear of financial crisis. It might be fear of a lot of things. If I can get you to fear something and I can tug at your heartstrings and kind of manipulate you because you're not thinking rational at the time, and all it takes is pressure and fear, you want to relieve that pressure and you want to relieve that fear. So you might give the information knowing you probably shouldn't in the back of your brain, but because you're fearful and you're worried, as soon as you give that information, you feel that release. It's human nature. And that's what I think people are underestimating. People constantly underestimate the sophistication of a crook when they employ these different tactics. But I find fear is the one mostly used and mostly successful. But it's understanding the fear. It's the type of fear. Maybe it's fear being alone when they threaten. It's a relationship they scan and they threaten to never talk to you again, or they threaten to not be able to come see you unless you send them money or unless you send them a credit card information, or fear of different things like that, isolation and things. So there's all kinds of different ways you can play fear, but it's a play on the human brain.
Wow. This has been an incredibly insightful, informative, and very important, in my opinion, monthly spotlight. So I can't thank you enough, Senior Deputy Holmes.
Oh, no problem. Sorry I talked a little long. I went a little long for you. I get excited about this. I get passionate about it because here at the station, from top to bottom, from the chief down, we care about people, and we just want to make sure our local residents and the people in Ventura County and citizens of Ventura County are taken care of. So thank you, Amy, for the work you do. I really appreciate it.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure, and I thrive on these opportunities to educate the community. And as we've discussed today, scams have become more common, and Senior Deputy Holmes and I do not want you or your aging loved one to become a victim. Remember, never give your personal information to an unknown party. Be wary of any third-party sellers. Don't be lulled into any false sense of security. And as I mentioned, and Senior Deputy Holmes mentioned at the top of this segment, share. Share this important information to friends, family, and peers. We touched on a lot here, but believe it or not, there is a lot more that to discuss and expose about the current trending scams that are out there. So I will have more of that on my website. But an important takeaway, if you or someone you know believes to be the victim of a scam, please contact me and I will put you in touch with Senior Deputy Holmes. Until then, I offer so much gratitude and appreciation to you, Senior Deputy Holmes, your entire station, for all that you're doing to keep our community safe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your time. And until then, I wish each of you to stay well, but be cautious out there. All right, I'll talk to you all soon.
And if you're so inclined, I encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Genson Geriatrics and like us on Facebook.